In a dark world, remember to be the light. Welcome to our live broadcast. Black Swan Revelations presents Rev 5. Here is your host, the Black Swan himself, Shane.
You know, sometimes when you do as many videos as we do here on the panel throughout the week, you're about to be right on something. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. But there's no way in the world that I would have predicted what happened and how it happened yesterday. The feeling I got yesterday was, this isn't real. This isn't real. So as I started saying that, I started thinking about this.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
And here we are. Look at that. So that movie Matrix, that scene was pivotal because Morpheus was trying to get Keanu to wake up. And what would happen normally is people would die because they don't want the truth and they would just keel over and they'd rather be in the Matrix than outside of the Matrix. So Neil got sick thereafter when he went back into, I forget what the name of the ship is, the Nebuchadnezzar. And but that was a powerful scene because he couldn't handle the idea that humans were being used for batteries, basically. A little prop for a Duracell battery, I guess. But I wanted to bring my friends on tonight and talk about what happened yesterday and maybe a little bit more specifically, what were we actually doing before we found out about this event that we're going to be talking about tonight. I'll start it off, and then we'll go Gary, and then Bob, and then Amy, and then Michael if he ever does come back. All right. So yesterday I was in the middle of doing a video on my channel, doing some prep work and that kind of stuff. And I just finished watching something on the news or whatever. I was watching. Oh, I know what I was watching. I was watching Alec Baldwin's case. I was watching it and I was just like, oh, this will be interesting to see which way this swings. And I was just a little bit glued, watching it. It's probably like 9 hours for each. There was like a couple of days where it was 9 hours. So I couldn't do the whole thing, but I would just kind of fast forward and see his demeanor. Is he guilty? Is he not guilty? All this kind of stuff. And lo and behold, wouldn't you know, they basically took it off the board, if you will. They just said this is almost like a mistrial in some ways. Like they said this case can never be tried again. And then, oh, by the way, we got to take you some even more important news to keep your eyeballs, because that wasn't enough, wasn't going anywhere. So they wrapped it up with a bow, and then all of a sudden it's like a Trump rally. And I'm like, what is going on here? What am I seeing? Is this, like it was too real for it to be fake. But the moment that I saw it happen, I was just like, I didn't see it live. I missed it by 51 minutes. But when I was watching it, I kept rewinding, going like, he looks like he took a hit. Looks like he took a bullet and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, shades of Black Swan event, ding, 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 all over the place, right? So, but I wanted to get your guys' interest. Where were you? I was on YouTube. Gary, where were you when that happened, when you found out?
Well, what's the fat guy really doing? I was in a drive-through. No, I was anyway. I was getting food for my children, and I got an alert saying something was going on at the Trump rally, and it said something about a possible shooting, or how they say possible or alleged, so they get you, dander up. And then when I saw it, I'm thinking, okay, he just went down out of precaution, and then I'm like, no. And then they replayed it and everything. And I was like, no, something really did happen, because he always has, naysayers in the crowd and get them out of here, and
Yep.
Some people yelling and some protesters. So I did not think it was a shooting. But then when he came up and he was trickling some blood on the side and all those Secret Service, that's when you knew something was real. And it was a shock,
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, is seeing blood trickling from a president, and you're actually watching a rally where the whole world is watching. And we're going to talk
Yeah.
about a Black Swan event, what are the criteria and why this fits that. But Michael, where were you? If you could turn on your mic.
Sorry about that. Yesterday I was actually checking out Alec Baldwin's case as well. So when you said that, I thought that was kind of interesting because I kind of was also interested in his facial expressions. And I mean, he looked, generally remorseful. However, he is an actor. So I kind of kept that in the back of my mind as I watched it. And I mean, I'd imagine anyone, regardless if they had intent or not, to have some type of verdict dropped off of their case, I'm sure they'd be excited.
Yeah.
But I didn't catch it initially when it first happened. But my wife, she had started feeling kind of sick, and we ended up taking her to the hospital yesterday. But so I didn't have a chance to really examine it for too long until I got back, and it was about I got back in the house almost 1:00 in the morning, and I remember watching it, and as soon as I heard the popcorn going off, I mean, I recognized what ambient gunshots sound like, and then as soon as the first couple pop go off, I seen him actually grab his ear.
Yeah.
Knew that he likely had taken some kind of fire, and he ducked real fast down behind the podium there. And so it's definitely strange. It's hard to say, a lot of people will probably say, what's going on with the shots and all this. As far as like a educated shooter, they would always target center mass. So I'm not sure if he was just, a horrible shot. Of course, you have adrenaline going on. It's hard to say what was going on exactly in that gentleman's head because you can clearly see the sniper's positions all around the facilities. So to even think that you could do something like that and walk away from it makes me think it possibly might have been more along the lines of a Mike Kilo Ultra or a kind of a death wish for someone to try to go out in such a fashion, which is really sad either way, no matter which way you look at it. But it's very interesting to see because we all knew this day was going to come. We all kind of seen the writing on the wall. We knew that it was escalating to a point to where there was nothing else that could be done to deter and to stop. Because you got to think about the future rallies, how this is going to affect attendance and things of that nature. Is it going to stir the people up? Is it going to make people submit to fear? Who knows?
Yep.
I think at the end of the day, we're about to see some possibly more black swans.
Interesting. Okay, we'll talk about that in this episode. Strangely enough, Amy.
Hey, yeah, it was crazy. Just yesterday, I was just leaving, seeing my mom. It's my birthday tomorrow. So
happy birthday.
crazy to happen.
Happy birthday.
Like right before. I know. Thank you. I'm turning 33 too. What a special number.
Oh, yes, for sure.
It's awesome.
Year of our Lord, his
Awesome.
age. So it's really crazy. I just remember I just left seeing my mom. I was in my car right before I started driving. I got a text, something that my friend sent me, and I looked down. I didn't read the whole thing. But it was an article of what happened, and I'm like, I called her. I'm like, or she called me, and I'm like, did Trump just get assassinated? Like, what?
Yeah.
At the same time, sadly enough, not shocked. I mean, it's like what you brothers already said. The writing was on the wall. We saw the day approaching. And it's sad. It's sad that we're not shocked because that just speaks volumes of the condition of our world and the condition of America. It's really sad.
Yep. Bob.
Well, an interesting thing happened to me. I know, first of all, we talked about this calm, didn't we?
Yep.
It's been calm for a while. We talked about it on Tuesday. You know what? It's too calm. Something's coming.
Something is up.
Changed.
Definitely up. Yeah.
Something big. Remember we said it was going to be huge?
Yep.
Because it waited so long. It's been quiet for so long.
Yeah.
That the next birth pain was going to be huge.
Yeah.
Like bigger than the rest. And look what happened.
Yeah. We were talking about that. Like Bob was like, doesn't this just seem eerily quiet? Like there's nothing going on. Obviously there's little pockets of news here and there, but not like this. Like all eyes are now on America instantaneously. All eyes around the world.
perfect
what's
time.
going to happen next. Yeah, go ahead, Bob. I don't want to cut you off.
No, that's fine. So we had the calms. That was a confirmation. The Holy Spirit showing us, hey, guys, get ready. So that happened. And then I've been talking the last month or so. I think some of you might have been on the uptime when I talked about. I told everybody, I go back and look for it. I told everybody I was worried about July 13th. I was worried about it. You guys remember? Some of you might remember me talking. I had to go back and find the clip. But that's like a month or so ago. And I said I was worried about July 13th because we were going to a concert in Illinois, Tinley Park. All right, Central Illinois. All right, grounds there essential for the Civil War and all that stuff, you know. And I was thinking that there's going to be that's a perfect time for a shooting. And I was looking at this even back months ago after I bought these tickets back like in February. All right, this for the REO Speedwagon Train Tour. All right, so I wanted to go, so I bought them back in February, and then I looked at the date in April. I was like, you know, it better not be on the July 13th. Looked at sure it was 13th. I was like, perfect. Something's going to happen that day, 7/13. Wow. And I posted videos about that even after that. I've been talking to Brother John, and I made videos about 7/13. So, but I was focusing on a mass shooting. But be it as may, I knew a shooting was coming. All right, and and then I prayed to the Lord, if this is going, I've been praying about this day. I prayed with Brother John, you know, I prayed with my family when we left. I was like, Lord, if this shooting is going to happen at this amphitheater because Russia still hasn't retaliated from their amphitheater shooting yet, this was a perfect time to do it. All right, right. So we were praying against it. I said, Lord, if we are not supposed to be there because there's going to be an event here, then let it be that we won't be able to make it there. And at that day, it started happening. I couldn't print my tickets. I couldn't get the tickets. We had to go round and round, just try to get our tickets. Could have this weird system now where they just don't email you tickets. You got to confirm. You got to set up this, set up that. All these hoops you got to jump through to get tickets. It's not like the old days. Too many middlemen involved. All right. Yeah. So we were struggling for an hour. So we're already late. We're leaving early anyways. So I'm like, is this a sign? Is this a sign? We're not supposed to go. I started getting really worried. But we got the ticket. And then I got, check this out. We got there, all right, and we're having issues getting there because the guidance system on our phones was like taking us all over the place, trying to prevent us from getting there. So now you know how that made me feel. Yep. Time to turn around and go home, but I didn't. So we got there. Check this out. When we got there, we walked up to the gates and say, "The show's not going on right now. We got thunderstorms. We got lightning. So everybody has to wait in their cars." I'm like. Wow. It's the Lord trying to tell me not to go to this event. And at that point, I was like, all right. And we sat in the car. And on the way back to the car, this was getting back to the Trump thing. On the way back to the car, my son, I know my oldest son, I know he's full of the Holy Spirit. It's like, Dad, something doesn't feel right today. I feel like there's something shifted. And it felt dark. And I was like, I feel it too. Wow. And I didn't even mention to him my theory about the mass shooting. And that's what I told them about. Well, I think the reason why, because there's going to be a mass shooting here. And that's why I think that God is stopping us. So we shouldn't go in there. So this will be like a big Black Swan event. And the Lord's keeping me away from it. And then the storm comes rolling in. And they say, we'll let you guys know. And the storm delayed this whole thing for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And we're like, you know what? An hour to wait. It's like, you know what? If we stay here, then this whole thing's going to be delayed by 2 hours. You won't be getting home like 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, I just forget it. Let's just go home. I think the Lord's trying to tell me something. All right. But here's the thing. When my son said, Dad, something shifted. It's dark. I don't know what's going on, but I don't like it. Something feels different now. And I said, I feel it too. All right. And they're heading back to the car. And all of a sudden you're hearing people say, Trump got shot. Trump got shot. And everybody started. I'm like, what? Wow. That's an ouchie right there. Wow. So I'm like, yeah, so it shifted. Everything shifted. And the Holy Spirit was confirming that to us. Yeah. And then later on, I found out why it shifted. Yeah. My son felt it. I felt it. My wife felt it. My other son felt it. It felt bad. And it wasn't just an eerie storm over us. I'm like, man, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. Then I didn't believe it like you guys. It's all fake news. My phone starts blowing up. All my friends that are either liberal or conservative fighting each other in the text messages and this group text is going on. Yeah. I'm like, there we go. They're at each other's necks now already because of this whole thing.
Yep.
So I'm like,
No.
man.
Wow.
And
It's
come to
true.
find out he wasn't totally assassinated.
Yeah. But it was an attempt for sure to take him out. There's no other way to look at that. He was millimeters from what's interesting is I was making one a little bit more about how things don't seem quite like they are, and I was going to go down the Matrix rabbit hole. I was creating a thumbnail and all this kind of stuff. Welcome to the desert of the unreal, because again, Keanu or Neo couldn't handle it, and I felt like yesterday was a little bit of that red pill, if you will, moment where we've been talking about it, and it's almost like every time you see an event, I was thinking about like, man, they don't like him, whoever they is, the people that don't want him to say or do what he does. I don't want to say it's a Democrat Party, but every time Trump had a rally, that's the first thing that pops into your head. How secure, like, look at how many people, like, you just can't help but look around, and then you see a few guys with guns and stuff, and you're like, no way anybody's going to ever try anything like that. So I thought more would be something like maybe on a golf course with Joe Biden, if they're doing some kind of a thing, something that's kind of like you can't secure the area properly. I didn't think a rally where it was that security was basically at the top. So I wanted to just briefly mention the definition of Black Swan event, and then we'll go around and get your guys' thoughts on that. So definition of Black Swan event is something that happens that is highly improbable. You can't predict it. That's the nature of a Black Swan event. Is you could say, like back in World War II, like, I sure hope another country doesn't jump into this war, and Japan jumped in. It was a Black Swan event, but it wasn't for Japan. It wasn't a Black Swan event for them. But for America, it totally was. For North America, for Britain, all this, the way it happened was definitely a Black Swan event, because that ushered the U.S. into the war. 9/11, same thing. The day before, calm. That whole week was probably calm. I don't remember too much of it. I only remember the day of, because it's almost like it gets imprinted on you. This is one of those moments. So highly improbable. And then the world has to change overnight. That's the criteria for a Black Swan event that magnifies this, because mark my words, mark all these guys' words here, including Amy, something's going to change moving forward. We're not running the ship the same way as before. So when this happened, so that's the second criteria. The third thing is you actually are able to go back in time and explain it away and say, oh yeah, we should have saw this coming. Well, yeah, we saw a guy up in a roof and all this. You're going to hear all these things coming, and then you're going to hear all these stories of they failed, they let things down, we got to beef up the security, all this kind of stuff. And that's what happens. And another phenomenon that happens is you think this is going to happen every single day now moving forward. You overreact. So you start thinking, okay, well, maybe now it's a retaliation time. Let's if it is the Democrats, let's protect Joe Biden. Let's protect his parties and everything with extra FBI, CIA. Let's do that. Let's go overboard, because it could happen every day. I guarantee the security is going to be overboard during this national convention for the Republicans starting tomorrow. You don't think that they're going to go overboard with drones flying everywhere, guys, snipers everywhere? It's going to be the tightest security, which really, in essence, if you're going to go to a rally, that would be the time to go, because it's going to be the safest. You're not going to have another Black Swan event after another. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. That's not the pattern of a Black Swan. That's not the definition. So what are your guys' thoughts? And again, we'll go around. We'll go in reverse order. We'll go Bob, Amy, Michael, and Gary. What are your thoughts about, is this a stamp? Is this an indicator moving forward that, hey, the world's going to change starting tomorrow morning? What are your thoughts? Go ahead, Bob.
Well, what you explained right there was perfect. Okay. Yeah, I don't see this happening again. And I could definitely see a lot of the benefits the Democrats can get now by beefing up their security. Now, we can protect Biden. We can protect anybody they want to put up, like Gavin Newsom. All right, they want to put him up now. Nobody wants him. That now we have all these reasons not to protect him. Because look what happened to Trump, you know. So I'm still kind of beside myself because the shot. I mean, come on, that was right here.
Yep.
I mean that. You know, people was that a God intervention or what? Because
It kind of feels like it, because if you're right, Bob.
know.
Like if you go like this, you're done.
Right.
Like if you just turn your head a little bit, and he actually leaned forward just a little bit to talk to somebody about a chart that was on the wall, and he's like, "Hey, look over here," and then he's looking here, and then all of a sudden he turns, and it's like, "Ching," like right there,
Right.
like it's.
And I've seen the map where the guy had the shot. It was a perfect shot right at him.
Yeah.
It was a perfect shot. Why? How that all? I think personally, it was all staged. It was supposed to happen. It was corrupt. His security's corrupt, and they got bad guys.
So, like when you say staged, you mean like an inside job kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah,
because that building wasn't
Feels like it.
secured.
Right.
Yeah, it's like if you look on the map, the building was like perfectly like lined up perfectly with him on the outside, and that building wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
All right. And those snipers are sitting there looking at this spot right here. That guy had time to get up in that building, crawl across that building, get into position. They should have saw that. Okay, so something doesn't smell right. It doesn't pass the smell test. This whole thing with me.
Well, it's interesting. Like, did you mention that? Like the setup and everything. I like Tom Cruise movies. I watch quite a bit. I will admit I have all of his movies except for that Elf one. That was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't have that one. But there was one, I think it was Mission Impossible 3. It might have been Ghost Protocol, where basically a girl was to, I think Tom Cruise was going to assassinate someone or whatever, but somebody else had a beat on him to make sure that he took out this guy, and then you get taken out. It's kind of the pattern to make sure that you don't back off what you were supposed to do. And if we're running along the thread of what Bob is suggesting, I've thought about this too, that what if, because there were people saying, hey, there's somebody up here. You got eyewitness of people saying that to officers, and they're almost looking the other way, or they don't have enough resources to get somebody to have a look at it. But you could really see, like, it's so obvious that you could see someone up there. So the idea that, like, how fast did these guys take this guy out? Like, they found him like this. It was like a second. He fired a couple of shots, whatever, 4 shots, and he's dead. That's how fast this happens. It's not like, oh, we got to have a search party and we got to go look all over for this guy. It was almost like they had a bead and it was quick.
Right. On top of that, I was arguing with my wife because something is small, right? Because listing all the shots they took a total of 9 shots.
Yeah, there's
nine shots they took. You listen to it. I count 9 shots. Okay. I don't know how many shots this guy returned fire, but what's interesting, and nobody got hit behind Trump.
Actually, a couple people, not directly, but on this side, a couple of people got hit.
Okay, good. I didn't hear anything about anybody. Yeah. Like, how are those bullets skimming past them and all the people, a big wall of people, and nobody got hit?
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. So basically, they have a stage, and you're right, Bob. Like, it was lined up pretty good. Like, they have a stage here. This is basically they would call it basically right behind the president, and then they had another set of bleachers to the right side of the president. So my left, your right, whatever, stage right. And then they had another set of bleachers as well that are basically lining up. It's almost not quite a U shape, but the people on the bleachers that were on Trump's left side, the bleachers were angled like this so that if you miss Trump, you take the shot. And a guy got it pretty good. And I think another girl, I think 2 people died and 1 was injured, but somebody missed Trump. And obviously when you're taking a shot, you got to beat it in a little bit. And okay, the wind's blowing a little bit this way or whatever, and you just fire them off. People were getting hit behind Trump because that stage was angled at a weird kind of position, and so is the other stage, but people are feeling stuff going past them. And then they watch, if you watch the footage, you'll watch them immediately. They ignore what was going on with Trump behind the little the podium, and they all look to their right, and they're watching what's going off here. And I believe that's when all the action was going on with the snipers taking this guy out on the roof, because that's where, if you drew a line, it would be to their right. So, and it was so fast, it was probably within 10 seconds. That'd be safe.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Amy?
I agree with Bob. I think that it was staged, and one of the biggest reasons why I think that is because there's just no way a former president and a presidential candidate again, there's no way that his security isn't so tight that they wouldn't have missed them going up to that. What was it? A hotel? Did you guys say?
Oh,
you guys might not have. Well, wherever they were, there's no way that they would have missed those guys. There's just, just logically thinking, there's no way. And it's just essentially what we're watching here, what we're seeing today is we're seeing the first seal is getting ready to break, which is the Antichrist is getting ready to come on the scene. And then after that, the second seal is going to break, which is the red horse. And that is the horse that is taking away the peace from the whole world. And like the world leaders, we've been seeing this coming for a long time. They have been needing to get America out of the way for Bible prophecy.
Yeah.
So we're just one more thing. We're seeing the world getting set up for the coming tribulation period, and they have to take America out of the way. And to me, I'm thinking this is just one more thing we're going to see that's going to bring that further of the diminishing of America, because what they're going to do with this. They're going to try to further disarm Americans, and they want America gone out of the way so they can set up their one world global government system, just like the Bible says.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah. So all of you guys make some really awesome points, and I wanted to pull something up here because I'm basically gonna take a moment to kind of think outside the box for a little bit, because I know that's pretty important at times. Okay, so I'm going to share actually a screen real quick. Share screen. Entire screen. No, this one.
And just kind of walk us through a little bit what we're looking at here.
Okay, so
there we go.
I have my little MS Paint version, but to get it kind of a satellite, albeit this is very low resolution. Sorry, everybody. In the year of 2024, it looks like this bad. Yeah. But okay, so you have Trump stage, and then you have the security sniper.
Yeah.
You have the spot of the shooter's body, which is where he took the shots from.
Yeah.
Now, as far as, does anyone know his background? Who was he? Was he former military? Was he trained proficient with firearms?
Not sure. It's the usual suspect, loner, all this stuff.
Okay. I was gonna say, because to take a shot, depending on how far that is, 3 to maybe 600 meters, I'd say somewhere between there, without a rough calculation, that's not going to necessarily be easy for most people. Now, they're going to also add in the factor that if you've ever done target shooting from great distances, any type of adrenaline, any type of uncontrolled breathing, that's really going to play a huge factor in whether or not you're going to be able to actually line your shot up. And they don't want to do Kentucky windage, so you don't, as a like a sniper, he's not going to compensate for the wind. Like moving his scope, he's going to actually dial that in. He has instruments to be able to actually control the dials on the scope to accommodate for wind direction. And I forget exactly. I think it's a parabola curve that they go based off of. And so it's pretty. The shot could potentially, if you're just a redneck from the hills and you just took out your BB gun and started shooting cans for like a couple weeks beforehand, you may not have been able to make the shot. Now, I assuming he was probably at least if he was trained shooting for center mass, like I was talking about. But the big thing that Brother Bob brought up that just screams red flag to me, as far as thinking out loud, is anyone that kind of knows how you would set up security, you would have what you would call sectors of fire, because it's impossible for every single person who's on security detail to cover every single place in the geographical location, the terrain. So it's impossible. So, you would have to think logically, what are great vantage points for potential shooters? What are some good angles? Where are they going to actually shoot from? And then you would, of course, assemble your team and create what you call sectors of fire. Kind of like, say, if the green X was the sniper, he would have a zone right here. So he would have a actual, here, I will show you in more detail. You'll have to bear with me, guys.
I have a pretty good map too that might help explain it a little bit as well.
Okay. I'm just gonna show just basic thought process here. Nothing too technical, nothing too detailed. These are not to scale, obviously.
Yeah.
But you would have this inside this cone would be your sector of fire. So how in the world someone who's trained on one position, that's his whole job, mind you, the entire event, is to look between two different points. And if he looks beyond those points, he's a failure for a security team, because you are supposed to be locked in to your sector of fire, because that way you can actually build a kind of wall, if you will, around the area that you're protecting, the perimeter. So that doesn't make sense. How he can miss the shot, depending on whether or not he had training, depending on his physical abilities. Because if you're climbing up on a roof, and one thing that we like to do in the Army was do like 15 to 20 burpees before doing target shooting. That way your heart's pumping, your arms are getting fatigued, and you'll see your scope's all over the place.
Yeah,
it's hard to, you know what I mean, and you kind of get used to how your body moves, and you can kind of understand how to shoot. But so it definitely seems like it's going to be kind of comes down to an incompetence thing. Because that doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't jive.
I think what Brother Bob Barber brought up is by far the most compelling reason why I would say that there's some really sketchiness going on here, because that sniper should have seen him the moment he crawled up on the roof. There shouldn't have been any delay.
So let me show you this map here. This maybe give a little bit insight. So we have a map.
Oh, it was only 130 meters. Okay, someone said it was 130 meters. Still.
Yep.
If you aren't a marksman and you're not used to shooting, I don't know his background though. That's the thing.
Yeah. So
with
have
the
a look.
Adrenaline and everything, it's possible you could still miss.
So have a look at the line, basically from where the sniper is on the left. Can you guys see this? All right. Here, let me make it full up here. So basically a straight line. The guy's lying here and fires a shot. He's going to go over the shoulders of whoever is here.
Yeah.
And then if Trump is right here and he moves, these guys got hit right here. This is where it might have been more like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there were definitely a guy got hit, and this guy was like, I don't know what's going on here, because it feels like we're being fired upon or whatever it is. It was weird for these people here. These people here, there was a massive crowd here, had no idea what was going on, nor did these guys. They had no idea. They're just like, what's the panic kind of thing? We see Trump going down, and then they're talking to each other. And I also heard rumors that they jammed the cell phones just before so that you can't talk to each other, or there's no phone calls ringing during this thing. So they had jammers in that area, but I'm not 100% sure. But nobody could talk to each other. So everybody here was not in the know. They had no idea what had just happened until Trump got up. And then you could see a wave of people saying, he got shot, there's blood, all the way to the back, right? Yeah. But the second this guy fired a couple of shots, these people are going down, and I believe the two snipers were here. And you're right, Michael. Yeah. Like, it
makes no sense. And it doesn't even make more sense. Sorry to interrupt, because I'm looking at the other map again. And if you actually zoom out further from this point, you'll see that there's absolutely no other vantage point. Here, I have to refresh real quick because I want to show you this. There was absolutely no other vantage point that they would have been able to take that shot from. So, what in the world was the security team thinking? Oh, there we go. I got it up. You see, like all the way down here, it looks like just a highway and some roads. So as a security team, your only really good vantage points, that you should be thinking about when you're pulling perimeter and security and trying to protect one of the most important men that's on the planet right now, at least in the world's eyes, you would have this grouping of buildings here, and you would have these structures down here. Yeah, those are really the only real vantage points that you would be able to take that kind of shot and have a more successful chance at completing your mission. So the fact that why wasn't there even snipers on the building that he was shooting from?
Yeah, that would have been.
That doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, it would have been.
There should have been a sniper team on every single rooftop.
Like you're right. When you have people here, they're here. This guy's job. Just look at this building. That's all we're asking you right here. That's it. Just have a look. And now, is it possible somebody can sneak in here? Yeah, for sure. And then jump up, lie down, boom, done. But man, you gotta know where you're at and the timing, that you got to know that there's no snipers looking in your direction. Like, it feels it feels a little weird.
Something's fishy.
Yep, exactly.
Definitely.
Not
and
right.
that's why I think Brother Bob is definitely the most compelling case for a very questionable. What
all they had to do is put one person on those roofs. Yeah, you didn't have 50 roofs. You had one roof to watch right there, and you could have just put one guard up there. That's all you had to do. Real easy. Anybody could have seen that. I would have figured that out. I'm not even security. Yeah. Okay. So it was an inside job.
Yeah. Bob, can you just look? I want you just to look over there. If you get tired, let me know. But keep your eyes over there, because that roof is wide open. Gotcha. That's easy. But I'm not trying to say that the army is easy and all this.
Yeah, that's
from our uneducated perspective, where we have opinions, and I'm just like anyone else. I like throwing out my opinions and all this stuff, but it feels like
it really
somebody either messed up on purpose and said, "Oh, could you hold my binoculars? I got to go to the washroom. I'll be back in a couple of minutes." Oh, there's a shooting. Wow.
I'm going to read real quick the definition of what I was talking about, the sector of fire. A sector of fire is a defined area that needs to be covered by fire from an individual, a unit, or a weapon. Leaders assign sectors of fire to ensure that an area of responsibility is covered, and may also limit the sector of fire to prevent accidental engagement with nearby units. Yeah, because it also helps prevent friendly fire, basically is what it's saying. And when assigning sectors of fire, the leaders consider the numbers, the types of weapons available, and of course your geographical terrain and things of that nature. So when you are assigning that, these guys are all like ex-recon Marines, ex-Green Berets, SEALs that are joined the special or the Secret Service, they should know this. This should be like, it's second nature to them. Like, absolutely. They wake up, with this ingrained into their mind to such a point that it's not even, you don't even have to tell them to do it anymore. You know what I mean? So why there was a failure of this sort.
Yeah. And I think I want to make sure and have a distinction between fake and planned, because you could build a really strong argument with this thing. Planned, people didn't do their job. They wanted Trump out. I think you can build a strong case, but the idea of that this was fake, as in that's not real blood, those people didn't really die, I'm not comfortable with that. I feel like this actually happened, but there are people that wanted it to happen the exact way that it happened, and that's what's causing a bit of a rift right now in America. It's like, you did it, because everybody's got that same unction that there's no way you can let this go. Like, you can't just not protect someone as important as this. Like, that's I think that's what we're all kind of wrestling with, not the idea of fake blood. Like, I think Trump did get shot. I think people did die.
I agree. Same. I absolutely believe that there was real fatalities. As far as I know, there's one fatality, one in the hospital in critical condition, and our hearts and prayers should go out to all of them, including the gunmen, because it's really hard to know exactly what was going through their mind when it was happening, and they obviously that they were unstable. And a sad individual to do something like that, and they obviously knew that that was going to be their last day on Earth. Now, whether or not that there was some, CIA activity, some like Kilo Ultra type stuff going on, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know. I really don't, but it's possible. I definitely believe it's real, 100%. But the scenario around it and how it actually was executed, just think of JFK. That's kind of my point.
For sure. Gary, what are your thoughts? Are we crazy?
It's funny. No, I don't think you're crazy, and I think it's interesting. Michael mentioned JFK. Because I've heard different. Of course, there's a gazillion accounts out there, but I remembered hearing a Secret Service person for JFK that was still alive back in the 90s talking about how, of all days, as they look back, that was a day that they had they were just limited on their detail for that day. And that's one of the reasons why they weren't able to really go and do a thorough sweep of that town and to even reevaluate, let's change the route at last minute. But they had it printed in papers and on it goes. And that's a whole other Black Swan. But bringing it to now, last night we were watching Sean Hannity, and he had Robert RFK Jr. on there. And Sean Hannity's been a pretty good supporter of the fact that Robert Kennedy, of all people, Jr., should have Secret Service detail. He is running for president. He is the third wheel in this. Whether he has a chance or not, that's not even relevant. But here you've got a guy that not only lost his father, lost his uncle. There's just a taint on that name. And if anybody should be protected, they should. And they're just like not protecting for some reason. And then even with Trump, and even with Trump last night, they were talking about how his detail with the magnitude of what he does as an ex-president and now a candidate, that they have limited him in resources for the Secret Service to where he only has so many people. But like we've said tonight, different ones, what is it to look at every single hilltop, every single tall tree, every telephone pole, any tall building that is tall enough or has some shadow to it like that one does to where you can go up the backside. There was a BBC report that I saw, and I'm sharing that on the comments, where they interviewed a gentleman that was next to that building where the shooter was, and he was trying to get the attention of Secret Service and local police, and they just kind of brushed him off. And that makes you think that, Bob, you're not totally off your rocker there, because if anybody says they see, what do they tell us? If you see something, say something, and then you say something and you look like a nut, So anyway.
Well, to give them the bit of the benefit of the doubt, and to also understand Trump's personality, I'm going to throw something across the bow, and then we can shoot it all down or whatever. But pardon the pun. But Trump, when he goes to an event, he doesn't like barricades. He doesn't like the presence of the military because it takes away from the feeling of the crowds. If they're always worried about, this security is like Fort Knox, amazing, but nobody's going to come because it's going to look too stiff. And Trump would always be the one that would be like, hey, we need to move these barricades over here a bit so that we can get more people in, and it'll look good too on camera. Like, our rallies are huge and all this. And I could just picture snipers going, oh, I can't see anybody now. Like, if you move stuff over here, I'm not going to say anything because, hey, it's the former president. I'm so far down the food chain that if I say something I don't want to, it's not safe, I could be removed from that position. Right? Like, so there is a little bit of the, what do you call it, where basically you have peer pressure and all that coming from top down. And imagine a general or somebody walking in and it's like, yes, sir, I can't see behind the trees. He's not going to say that. Somebody that's just their rookie year or whatever, they're not going to say that.
Even his departure from the floor, he was what? He was trying to get in between them arms to show visibility and throw that hand up and to show the strength. And
so that shows his personality right there.
And I think that's and got the entertainment background, and he knows how to promote. He's a great promoter of sorts. He's the best at promoting himself. But I think that's why you compare, when they were elected in and sworn in, the way Trump's security was the day he was, sworn in, and then the way it was so blocked and precautions and all this for Biden. We're doing this for your protection, and it shows that, like you said, it's just too stiff of an atmosphere, and they're like, well, we're doing it for our protection. No, you're doing it because half the country doesn't believe the legitimacy of this president anyway. But that's a whole nother sermon.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No.
Speaking of the legitimacy of this president here, I'd like to throw something. I'd like to shoot something across the bow. If you guys want to shoot it down,
we don't want one of these. We don't want one.
No, not like that. But well, first of all, before I go into that, one, they probably could have just wore thermal goggles. You could see the people in the trees. It's all probably real easy. Once again, I'm not in security. I can figure that stuff out, so it's all set up. But let's take a look at it this way. What if Trump is a part of the club, but he's playing like he's not? And they're trying to galvanize his side for a civil war, but they want to keep him alive. So you take a shot like that. Let's say the shooter was that good to take a shot that good, sideswipe him, rally everybody up, and now everybody's galvanized for a civil revolutionary war, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what they want. They want a civil war here. Okay, and that's the same thing that happened with Lincoln. They took him off the ballot, all right, shot him. Yeah, it's the same playbook, all right. Ecclesiastes 1:9, nothing new under the sun. Same playbook. So, what if he's a part of the club because they want to bring him back in? And of course, he did Warp Speed, and that was horrible. And Warp Speed was just a dry run for the Mark of the Beast. Satan, he has everybody on the left. These Biden supporters, all Democrat people, he has them all. Okay, but in order to get everybody on the right, you have to be able to, galvanize them through the right leader, Trump, and basically get that going, get this war going with this this event that just took place. Okay, because Trump gets in, and now, first of all, I told my wife, Biden. He went to whole new level of stupid after that debate. He went like all out stupid. He's calling like Kamala Harris Putin or Zelensky Putin. Kamala Harris calling her Trump. Okay, he went to a whole new level right after that debate. It's a little comical because it wasn't gradual. It was like a huge acceleration of stupid. So I'm thinking in this theatrical play here, they are really trying, and my point is, I think they want Trump in, and they want to make sure that he gets in with a lot of force, and they need to get everybody that were originally voting Democrat. They want everybody on the left to get behind Trump now, because Satan's like, look, I'm bringing in the mark of the beast for everybody, and this guy could bring it in for me. I want everybody to take that mark. Okay, so I need a leader, and that can issue that mark, and that's what Trump did with Warp Speed. He already did it once. He could do it again.
It's interesting you mentioned that, the idea that obviously I favor Trump over Biden, but I know politicians as well. I know there's another puppet master out there dangling the strings. We all know that. We've seen enough of that going on. But have you guys heard of Project 2025? I'm pretty sure Bob has, I think.
I've heard of it, but it's go ahead.
Yeah, so basically the idea, and maybe we can talk about this, is the idea of, let's go with Bob's theory. The idea is, this is a 900-page long document, so it would probably take you 6 months or so to get through all this stuff. But basically they have kind of like 4 pillars. One of them is they got to change the policies, and it's almost like a manual. So whoever comes in, it was almost written for Trump, but it could also be any other Republican that comes in. This playbook, it's 900 pages, and they would change the policies. And then the other thing that they would do is basically 4 pillars. The other thing they would do is they would also restructure everything top down, meaning if you are in the government agency, if you will, you could be replaced by someone else that we want to put in. We can just put them in, and then we put our own people there that are on our side. And the idea behind that is they would also spend how many days is it? They would spend like 3 months or so training these guys as well to toot the horn, if you will. Basically, under it could be Republican, anybody. Like, this is going to be a playbook for anyone to do, and they want to push this out starting January. Whoever gets in, and then the final kind of playbook is they want to do this within 180 days of taking over the office. So if it's Trump, he's got the manual already. He said, I got nothing to do with it. Okay, fair. But it is written from a conservative point of view to win people over. Like, abortion is gone, like almost instantaneously. We're not funding abortion. All these little things that favor us, but there's nothing about the church in there, which is interesting. There's nothing talking about rights of the church in there as to what's going to happen to those people that are worshiping. And you could build a case that Trump will not be the same guy when he gets in again. You could build a strong case. Like, you can just throw documents and say, he's not going to be the same guy. This changes you. Getting shot in the ear. I'm sorry. I've never been shot. I got shot in a BB gun. That was pretty devastating. I got it right in the leg. That was pretty devastating. But I got over it. I wasn't looking around going, does anybody else have a BB gun? Are they going to? I actually had a friend that was on a subway, and a guy walked up to him and opened his jacket and said, I need your wallet and everything. And my friend's like, why? And all the guy did was just show his handgun in his jacket. And my friend gave him his wallet, and then the guy went off the train, and then the security came and everything. And they said, do you need counseling? And my friend Kelly said, no, I'm fine. The next day when he went on the train, in his imagination, it felt like everybody had a gun on him. So he'd see a woman lean over to grab something out of her purse, and he thought it was a handgun. And this person standing, I thought I saw something shining in his jacket. He's got a handgun. That's how my friend thought for like weeks after that.
Yeah.
And all the guy did was brandish and show him a gun, and I want your wallet.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. So imagine Trump getting shot in the ear. You think he's not going to be changed by showing up in front of the masses tomorrow or the next day? Like, security is going to be over the top. I'm telling you, it's going to be over the top, and there'll be zero tolerance for anybody walking down the street. Oh, I have a license to carry. Oh, really? Step over here, please.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got an interesting illustration video, albeit it is not a human being.
Okay.
But I found it very interesting.
What's going on here?
It says, an abused zoo bear still circles in an imaginary cage 7 years after being freed. It's a perfect example of how trauma keeps you trapped if it's not healed.
Wow.
Oh, that is so sad. That is too
It is
sad.
But if it's like this for animals, think about how complex our minds are.
Yeah.
You know, I've been through a whole lot in my life, and there's been I've had to go see therapists and all kinds of stuff.
So how do you think Trump slept last night?
It all depends on the person. Now, admittedly, I'm gonna have to come out here and eat humble pie and just go ahead and announce it to the world. I'm not as mentally strong as some of the men out there, and for me, it was very difficult dealing with violent kind of trauma, that kind of things with guns. Some guys, they can, deploy 100 times, take out 1,000 targets over their lifetime, get blown up, everything under the sun, and they can sleep just fine. So, I mean, it really is dependent upon the person and their mental state and the kind of mind that they have. That's why I've always, talked to people who wanted to go to the military. I'm always like, it takes a certain type of person to do that kind of thing. It really does.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Anyone else? Your thoughts? I don't want to miss anybody. Amy?
I'm just really glad to hear your guys' perspective, because honestly, I don't know too much about it. I haven't had the time to look too much into the whole thing. I haven't even watched the whole video yet. I've just heard things here and there. And so to hear you guys and your perspective, I'm just learning a lot from you guys.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I wanted to have a female presence on this on like tonight, because it's always nice to hear another, because guys are just like whatever, yeah, whatever. We just throw things out, but sometimes it's nice to have a female perspective that could think outside the box as well and help us maybe go back inside the box a little bit too, right? If we go off to the side too much, right?
I'm just Bible. I'm thinking Bible,
Yeah,
Bible,
yeah,
Bible. Like I'm just like, this is setting up. The world is setting up. We can see it. Everything is converging. Like all of Bible prophecy right now is actively setting up as we speak. It's just one thing after another. I mean, I woke up today and I saw that now Vietnam, of all places, is mandated. I know this has nothing to do with the subject, but I'm just going somewhere with this. I'm making a point. Like Vietnam, out of all places, now have made it mandatory that everybody has to have a biometric digital ID. Anyone obtaining a new ID will now be required to give a fingerprint, an iris scan, and a facial recognition scan. So that's going on in Vietnam. That was just made mandatory July 1st, apparently.
Oh, wow.
So
It's coming.
We'll see that coming, yeah, exactly, everywhere.
I was thinking now like the 7-day warning. All right. How that might have talked about that, this whole 7-day warning. Israel gets attacked. 7 days later, you have a sign or anything like that I mentioned before. So here we are. Trump gets attacked on the 13th, right? Number 13. And that was pretty obvious right there. The Illuminati, skull and bones, whatever you want to call them. So the globalist number 13 for discord, chaos, all right, rebellion. So that took place. But now there's a 7-day count that starts. Okay. And there's a 7-day count that starts and ends on the 20th. So the 21st will be the very next 7 days. Okay. And so can we expect something to happen on the 21st of July or something to change? Is this a 7 count? Well, if you guys, who Gigi from Blue Heaven is, right? Some of you might know who she is. A lot of people out there know who she is. Yeah. I was watching videos that she did. Her video, I'm seeing all this stuff about Trump. It just dominated the live feeds. I mean, just take your pick. Trump, assassin.
Oh, yeah.
But then I'm looking for the believers who are receiving something from the Lord. That's what I was looking for. And I saw Gigi's video. I was like, all right, I'm going to watch this. Okay. I'm going, everybody's over there. I'm over here. Okay.
Yeah.
So I watched her video. It was really interesting. And she could probably explain it better than I can. She had this dream called 21-0 America, 210 America. All right. 10 years ago. All right. And she was given the date of July 14th. All right. And here we are now, July 14th. Everything's changed. All right. The Black Swan took place, changed everything. All right. And essentially in this dream or vision that she had, it was a 7-day warning. All right. So a 7-day warning to the 21st. All right. Now, I know there's others with Dr. Barry All. He has an alignment. I think it's for the Feast of New Wine. I don't know if it's at that time or not, or the actual Pentecost. Be it as it may, she's talking about a 7-day warning where something can happen between now and the 21st, maybe the rapture or something like that. But what's interesting, though, when she was talking about that, is she had this dream where there was actually a lottery to get on the ark. All right, ark lottery or something like that. So now you have the ark, all of us who are saved getting on the ark, also with this vision. And I'm probably butchering her right now. She just have to come on and explain herself. But what stuck with me was the number 210, 21-0. All right, 210 or 210 America. What does that mean? Well, the 21st, 2021 was the first year of diaper pants, Joe Biden. Okay. God's judgment, I believe she said this, and I believe it too. God began the prejudgments of America and the stages of judgments, and it all started with Joe Biden's presidency, and it did. He wrecked this nation like you wouldn't believe. And I believe that we have been going through stages of judgment. They got worse and worse and worse and worse since 2021. Okay, 210. There are your numbers, 2110. So that was the beginning of the stages of judgment. And now that we're pretty much done with the stages of judgment, and we're now entering the final stage, which will be nuclear war, an absolute decimation of America. This is when the rapture takes place and the tribulation begins. Okay, 2024. And I did not mention this, but what's interesting is that concert I told you guys about. Our seats were row 103, which I don't know what it meant yet. But check this out. Our seats number were 21, 22, 23, and 24. Those were our seat numbers for that concert that we're going to go to.
Wow.
Probably confirming this, what Gigi saw. And I just got that download just now. I didn't think about that before. I just got that from the Lord just now.
Wow.
So I think there's something to this.
So you didn't go to the concert, right?
No.
Do you still have that ticket somewhere as a
Yeah.
souvenir, maybe?
Yeah, I got to save from our StubHub and stuff like that in the app and stuff like that.
Nice,
so,
nice.
And I
No,
got
that's
copies
cool.
of it
Hang
too.
on to that. Hang on to that.
So something can happen in the next 7 days. It could be the rapture on the 21st. I don't know. People might want to comment about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But 7-day warning. I mean, this is pretty significant, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not as big as Israel being attacked, but still pretty significant.
So are you saying that if a rapture happened in a week, you wouldn't be surprised?
No.
It would be more.
In fact, the rapture happens any time between now and the Visa Trump. It'll still catch me off guard.
Right.
It wouldn't surprise me at this point. That's why this whole thing happened with Trump. It was a black swan to the world, but it wasn't to us. We knew
exactly. We were talking about
this dead in a coffin.
Yeah,
we knew it was coming somewhere. And even when I heard the guys talking about it, and I thought to myself, well, it's about time they took a shot. You know, this guy gets in office, this lights out for these guys.
Yeah, yeah.
We just didn't know when they were going to take the shot. We saw it coming. We just didn't know when it was going to happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think a lot about ratings when it comes to TV. Like Biden's ratings are down. They're just through the basement, basically. And Trump, every time he speaks, the ratings go up, and you got something to talk about. If you're on CNN, Fox, ABC, like they all have now, they got all their food for the rest of the year. This will lead us right into July 5th or November 5th. What happened yesterday, this is just mounting, and for the next 119 or whatever days, removed from stage by Secret Service after loud noises startles the former present crowd.
That's from CNN.
Wow.
Oh yeah. They got their material.
The stuff they're putting out there now. They're lying to everybody. You mentioned news and stuff. They're telling all their people, this is what they're telling everybody. A loud noise startled him, or he tripped. Yeah,
exactly. Lost his shoes and all that. Yeah. So
it's
starting
about it, even with
that's what they're doing now.
Yeah, and part of that, like when you think about like the Murdoch family, for example, I don't know if you guys know a little bit about them. Basically, they own Fox International. And so they basically split their company. They own, I think, 40% shares in the company, but then they split it, and then Disney bought the media outlet part of it so they can make movies and all that kind of stuff. So Disney owns that part, but the Murdoch family basically runs the show, and they're like the Rockefellers and all this stuff. And if they're making money off of Fox International, anytime Trump opens his mouth, who do you think they're going to want as the president? Unless somebody can outpace what Trump does with, like, I'm telling you, like, there's going to be records shattered for CNN and all these companies because they had nothing anymore. What, Alec Baldwin on TV? That's like, they squashed that so quick, and I've never seen a faster trial. Like, a couple of days and it's over. I thought that was going to go on for like a year, and they're like, no, throw it out. There's something better. This is up. And now we're all glued to Instagram and trying to see what the shooter looks like, trying to see if there's any more stuff on the wall and what's coming up. And then we're going to be doing that tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock when we wake up. It's going to be like,
it makes you wonder what they're doing in the background now.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what are they doing in the background. Start looking for the little stores and stuff that no one's looking at.
Yeah.
They have to be doing stuff in the background now.
I will admit, for the first time, it was very difficult to give myself a little bit of a break from the news this morning when I woke up. I wasn't feeling 100%, but I'm like, I got to get me some Galatians in me. I just got to read, spend 20 minutes reading, but it was not easy this morning. I'm telling you, I was like, I want to see what they're saying about what happened last night. And I'm like, okay, you can reward yourself later. Focus on this first, because it was
if
very
that's
difficult.
a reward.
Yeah, but this is what we do, right? We
The
like
reward.
this stuff. So I'm like, okay,
That's awesome.
talk myself into it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus here and just have a nice devotion. And then, you know what? And I think I ended up going back to bed because I was not feeling good this morning. But it's there. It's there all the time. What does CNN say? What does Fox say? What is, all this stuff? And then we start compiling all this stuff for tomorrow's video. Like,
exactly.
we're almost caught in that vortex. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with that old song.
I felt the same way this morning.
Real quick, I kind of have to interject here because I do have to leave because I haven't been feeling good at all today, guys.
Okay, for sure.
It's the grace of God that got me into the chair today because please pray for me. That'd be awesome.
For sure.
Definitely not feeling too hot right now, but hopefully it's fast moving.
We need to pray before you hit the off button.
Yes, definitely. Let's pray before I leave. But real quick, I want to kind of go back in time to those 2 shots fired across the bow and mention a few things. Definitely, Bob, spot on about the woods. Not only would there be foot patrols, but they have FLIR, forward-looking infrared radar, and they have the ability to have drones with this now, so they could just have like a little botnet drones going around. There's so many different ways they could have secured it. A lot of people are saying that Trump had to actually provide security for himself. I don't know if that's true because apparently the Secret Service was they said that they weren't providing enough assets for him. So that could be another thing. If that is true, there could be a miscommunication between the 2 teams on how the whole thing would have been operated. But going back to the soul of what you said, Shane, and I have to admit that is probably one of the most realistic assessments that I've heard about people being too afraid to mention something. And the reason why I say that is out of personal experience, I remember doing a lot of drills and training and having my own sector of fire. And that I told you about the time when I seen the Centaurs. No one's going to understand what in the world that means, but you'll have to fill them in on that. But
for sure.
I was like, obviously, I don't know if I'm seeing what I'm seeing downrange. I have no idea. So I was not about to go and be like, hey, everybody, I have some Centaurs, 300 meters away.
Yeah.
So like, it's just craziness, right? So there's that. And I definitely believe that actually has a lot to do with it. And it all goes back to kind of pride in a way, because one side of it, we're kind of afraid of looking like an idiot. But then there was another combat situation I was in where there was this guy, Sergeant Webb. He passed away. He's no longer with us. But I tried to warn him about something. And he looked at me and said, I'm the sergeant here. Shut up. So it's like, oh, man.
Yeah.
So that kind of went back to a pride moment, because if he would have just listened to me, he would have seen what I was telling was the truth, But sometimes when we get a couple stripes on our chest, we tend to think that we're well-seasoned veterans and whatnot. So kind of goes back to that too. So it could be a little bit of everything, human element, pride. Someone's afraid of reporting something because they might be wrong. And what if they, cause a ruckus for no reason?
Yep.
I guess at the end of the day, you could pick that whole thing apart a million different ways. I guess at the end of the day, I think that also Bob made a really awesome remark. There is snipers out there who are good enough to make a shot like that intentionally. So that is a very unique thought that I had not even occurred to me that possibly that was an intentional shot. Because if you see, he kind of started turning his head even before then. So kind of weird, kind of something to think about. Definitely interesting. But if you guys want to go into prayer, that'd be so awesome.
For sure. I can lead this.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
We just pray, Heavenly Father, for Michael, and he shared with us already how he's not feeling good, Lord, and I just pray that you just heal his body 100%, even right now, that you just begin the healing process, Lord, so that he could focus on his family and the things that he needs to do around his house and work and all that stuff. And we know that there's enough things in life to distract us, but we don't need another cold or a sickness, Lord. And we just pray that right now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you, Shane.
Yeah,
Love you
awesome.
all on here tonight. It's been such an awesome time to spend with y'all. And
Yeah.
I'll probably still be listening. So
Okay.
I'll see you guys in the chat.
Yeah, no worries.
Brother Michael. Good to see you.
It's
Yeah.
good to see you too. Good to see you,
And
Bob, Gary. So
care,
good to
brother.
see y'all.
See you later. We're not going to go for very much longer, like maybe another 3 hours. Are you okay for another 3-4 hours kind of thing? But I want to give I want to give everybody kind of a final thought. So we'll start with you, Amy, and then we'll go Gary, and then we'll finish with Bob. Just about what we talked about. It could be anything, but just you have kind of the floor.
Well, my mind is honestly racing. I've seen a lot of comments that I agree with, and I'm right there with you guys. I feel a heaviness too. I very much feel a heaviness over America, and my mind is racing because I'm thinking of just so much stuff, and it's like, which thing do I pick out, to say? And it's just really hard. And maybe I should mention this. I feel like the Holy Spirit wants me to mention this, because just the other day I had kind of a light bulb moment with the Holy Spirit where, I was thinking about all the memes, and, a lot of people are, they think it's funny, how, as Bob calls him, diaper pants. He's just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that is our president in America. And Bob started talking about how, it's very clear, very obvious. Those who are reading the Bible, that God put him there as a judgment on our nation. And so if God put him there as a judgment on our nation, maybe we should stop and think about God's heart for a moment before we start laughing about, how funny it is that he says stupid things. And maybe we should just kind of be somber with God right now, because I had a moment where I thought of, like, in God's perspective, if he set them there as a judgment because of all the evil that's going on in America. If God is seeing, I put him there as a judgment, and they're laughing. That must, I mean, if I was God, that would probably make me mad. That would break my heart. So, and I get it. I'm not condemning anybody. I've laughed so many times, and it's hard not to, because we live in such somber, it's shocking. And we live in such somber times that, we need to laugh. We need to laugh. Laughter is a medicine that God gave us. And so I've been there, but maybe we should take a step back as a nation right now and just pray, like really pray, and for God's heart to have God's heart right now.
That's good. I like it. Gary.
I'm just kind of reminded of Revelation 19:16, where it says that when the Lord comes back, on his thighs written, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And I just praise God for that. And I was also looking up earlier before we went on, and not trying to say that Trump is the Antichrist. Very well could be the forerunner. Who knows? But isn't it funny when this, and when I say funny, I mean that very lightheartedly. But yesterday, when all this went on, and I heard that he had a head wound, I turned right to my wife, and I forgot about it until just now. But in Revelation 13:3, it says, of course, it's talking about the beast here, and it says, one of the beast heads looked like it sustained a mortal wound. And that kind of how we thought yesterday. We thought he sustained that mortal wound. But its fatal wound was healed, and then, wrapped with amazement, the whole world followed the beast. Kind of goes with what, Brother Bob was saying there, that, at first, I thought, did we just see a president get assassinated. You know,
Right.
I've heard
Yep.
my mother and my grandparents talk about, you know, them seeing, you know, everything with Kennedy and
Yep.
then the shooter being killed on television. And here we are, you know,
Yep.
seeing a similar type of thing. But anyway, I know there's somebody in the chat earlier that had Mark 3:25, and this describes America. How can a house divided against itself?
Yep.
You know, that house cannot stand.
Yep.
And but anyway, I
No, it's
also before I leave, Zechariah 12:10, and not trying to say Trump is Christ, but isn't it funny how that passage was talking about Jesus, and it says that they will look on him whom they have pierced. And when I was watching the news last night, and they said he basically got pierced.
Interesting.
And then they show that then they show that little line of trajectory of where the bullet went in a frame, and I'm like, he was pierced. And here's the whole world mourning for this situation, even though you know it wasn't killed. But I think if we really look at the Bible, you'll really start to see when you do turn on the news, when God gives you that treat, like Shane, that you will see so many parallels. Not saying one is Jesus and one's the Antichrist, but just seeing those parallels. I think it'll really help us to understand certain things. But that's about all I had on that. But I appreciate
No,
you.
it's good. It's good. Bob.
Well, I posted something on a channel today about this whole thing, and it was very interesting. As soon as that happened, I saw the whole era thing, and everything started calculating, you know, about the book. I immediately went to that, the head mortal, head wound, all stuff like that, and I was like, this is perfect. How this is kind of like following the protocols. Look what's happening right now. This is a warning. Of what's to come, and I think that's why it happened this way. It could have hit here, it could have hit his neck, could have it hit the ear. All right, it took out his right ear, the top of it, blood,
particularly,
right. Which is interesting. Now, if you focus on that, I went to 1 Thessalonians 4:16-17. He descends from heaven with a shout, the voice of the archangel, and the trump of God. The dead in Christ shall rise first, and then we who are alive and remain shall be called up to meet them in the clouds, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Okay, that's first one, the trump of God. So focus on the word trump. Trump, like we've been doing for the last 7 years with this guy, right? Trump. Now, you go to 1 Corinthians 15:52. It says, "In the moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump," there it is again, rapture. Anything doing with the word trump is a rapture warning. Okay, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. So Trump got hit in the ear. And I believe it's a rapture warning, which is going back to that 7-day count. We'll see what happens. But I close with this because it says in Revelation 22, verse 17, "And the spirit of the bride saith," we who are bride of Christ, "and the spirit of the bride saith, Come. And let him hear it that say, Come." All right. Let him hear it. So the focus was on the trumpet, the trump, and the ear.
That's interesting.
Attempted assassination.
All
right. So you had to focus on the ear and focus on Trump. So the way I see it is we are now focusing on the trumpet, focusing on the trump, should be focusing on the rapture. And perhaps this is a 7-day warning of it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. It's interesting you mentioned.
So
there you go.
See what happens.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So lots there. Somebody sent me an email earlier. What about the idea that this ties in with Joseph? Remember when the baker and the butler had a dream, and the butler had a dream and he was the cupbearer, and then Joseph told him his dream, and the cupbearer or the butler got restored and the baker got hung. And it's kind of interesting that when you think about, I think the guy's name was PJ, the idea that Joseph he was in prison and he was going to this guy that was actually basically, he was handing wine to Pharaoh all the time. Basically, he trusted him. And there's probably some conspiracy to send both the baker and the butler into this prison, because if one of those guys let you down, if it's an inside job, you're going to figure it out pretty quick. And there's probably most likely the baker, because he ended up getting killed, and it might have been a mistaken identity, because you guys are always with each other. You're always the cupbearer, you're always the baker, but the cupbearer, the butler, got restored. And I thought about this a little bit, and even tying in with Leviticus with the priests, where they would touch the right ear actually with blood and toes, and Trump is like, I need my shoes. I'm like, how important is it for you to get your shoes? Like, really, at the end of the day. So I don't know. I'm just tossing some stuff around, trying to piece things together. Does this have anything to do with Leviticus? Does this have anything to do with Joseph being restored? Like, he was basically second in command. There was no one above him except for Pharaoh. So just kind of interesting. But
yeah. That is. Well, we do know that Satan is an imitator of God.
Yeah.
So he can't create anything new. He imitates.
Yep, 100%.
All the symbologies that you guys just mentioned there.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It is very symbolic.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we're probably going to be getting comments coming in even after we're done here. But yeah, the idea, like, again, my understanding of the Secret Service is they have to guard Trump for life. That's the deal. So if something went down when he was in court and got arrested and he was to go to jail, they wouldn't have let him go to jail, because their job, they're sworn to protect the president for the rest of his life. That's the deal. If you become president of the United States, you get your own protection. Can they guard 50,000 people? Probably not. But for sure, he has a detachment around him all the time. They protect him. That's for the rest of his life. He'll always have these guys around all the time, right? So I give them a little bit of slack in the idea that, why didn't you just pour more resources and drones and everything there? And I get it. Like, I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Doesn't matter what you put into it, because the opposite could happen, where you spent so much money to secure everything and a guy still got through. So then what? So there's my 2 cents. Thus ends my monologue. Thus ends the video for tonight. So I appreciate you guys for being on here tonight. Gary, Amy, Bob, we had a fun time. I hope you guys had fun.
Amen. Sure did.
We appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yep.
Very good.
So just stick around in the back, and I'll just end the stream. So thanks everyone for watching. Feel free to check out Gary Gates' channel, Not So Random. And also go to Amy, Girl Who Loves Jesus.
7.
I said your channel right. 7.
Girl Who Loves Jesus. 7.
Jesus 7.
Yeah.
And then Bob Barber.
Testimony of the Lord.
Yeah, Bob Barber with his End Time Dream and Vision. Go check out their channels as well. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye for now.
Black Swan Revelations here on YouTube brought you today's mind-bending journey. Dive into the discussion, your comments, questions, prayer requests, and powerful testimonies of Jesus' love are what fueled this community. Did today's episode hit home? Smash that like button. New here? Subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss a live stream or a video upload. Thanks for being part of today's adventure. Catch you in the next video, or maybe even in the clouds. Stay curious, stay blessed.